Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. I'm here with Martina Smythe, General Manager of People and Culture. Hi, Martina.
Hello.
To give you an update on JobKeeper emails you will be receiving today. We will be talking you through the process and answer as many questions as possible. You'll be receiving an email today from the YMCA Victoria informing you if you've been identified as an eligible or ineligible for the JobKeeper payment. We are progressively sending the emails to your personal and YMCA addresses. Please, if you haven't received your emails by 6 p.m. today, please check your junk box. If you still can't find the email, please contact humanresources.vic@ymca.org.au to let us know. As you can see, we've set that out in the slides that we've got here. We obviously don't want to leave anyone out, so please let Human Resources know so we can update our data and send out the email to you as soon as possible. But again, to reiterate, not until 6 p.m. today. So I firstly just wanted to give you the eligibility for JobKeeper requirements again. You must be currently employed by the YMCA or Kingswim. And please don't be thrown when you see the forms by the entity name in your letter. We have a number of different entities, all of which are part of the YMCA and Kingswim group. And you also need to be a full-time or a part-time employee or a casual employee on a regular and systematic basis for more than 12 months, as at the 1st of March 2020. You also need to be 16 years old or older, as at the 1st of March 2020, and an Australian citizen, the holder of a permanent visa or a special category subclass 444 visa holder as at the 1st of March 2020. Please rest assured, you have already provided us with this information when you commenced your employment with us, so we have taken that into consideration. You also need to be an Australian resident for tax purposes on the 1st of March 2020 and not in receipt of a JobKeeper payment from another employer. For the staff who later today will be notified that they have been identified as eligible, the ATO requires for you to complete the JobKeeper employee nomination notice, which is provided in your email. I'm going to take you through the 10-step process. Now, it's not that hard, but there is 10 steps on how to submit the form. We've tried to make it as easy as possible, and we've also automated the process, so you don't have to unnecessarily fill in a lot of information. So, step 1. In your email, there'll be a link. Press on the link, and that's going to take you to the form that you can see here. Step number 2. Scroll down on that form and verify all the information that we have pre-populated for you. Please make sure you check all that information. For example, your date of birth, your address, the postcode, etc. Step number 3. Once your form has been updated, you need to click Yes, I agree to be nominated for the JobKeeper subsidy. However, if you don't want to be nominated for the subsidy, please click No, you do not agree. By clicking No, that means that you will not receive the payment for JobKeeper subsidy. Step number 4. Once the form has been updated, click on Sign Document. A PDF will then be generated. It might take, 10, 15 seconds to complete. And then step number 6, the digital signature program will appear and ask you to review all the information before you submit. And then, so please make sure that that's all correct. Click and review the document, and then go to step number 7, which is to review the document, ensure that information is correct again, and then ensure that You click, if it's not all correct, you can go back at that point before proceeding. Step number 8, select a digital signature. You can just use a cursor. You don't need anything but to actually select it. And step number 9, scroll back to the top of the page and click Finish Signing. I don't think there is a step number 10. I think it is only up to 9. Oh no, 10, there is 10. Your screen now shows that the process is complete and that will be emailed to you for your records. I do hope that we've tried to make this as absolutely easy as possible. As you can see, it's all automated and we've had to do this. Basically, our IT department have been working around the clock to make that absolutely as easy as possible for you. So please make sure that whether you're working or you're not working, whether you're doing your regular hours or reduced hours, or indeed you are stood down, you must complete this form to assist us with the JobKeeper Payment Subsidy Program if you've been identified as eligible. Our deadline, as I've stated a couple of times, is 4 p.m. on Monday, the 20th of April. But please, if you get it in sooner, all the better. You may have read that the ATO requires all applicants in by the 30th of April. The reason we must set our own deadline is that we need to be able to make our JobKeeper payments before the end of April in order to receive the reimbursements. So while there's 2 dates, please follow our instructions to ensure that your form is completed as soon as possible, no later than 4 p.m. on Monday, and then we can ensure our payroll department can actually make the payment in time. Unfortunately, there are a number of staff who don't meet the Australian government eligibility criteria and therefore have been or will be notified that they are ineligible. If you're notified that you've been identified as ineligible, you will get an email notification and it will outline the reasons for your ineligibility. And if you look at this form, this is specifying what the email will look like and also where you can find the reason why you are identified as ineligible. If you think that that reason isn't valid and that in fact you do meet the eligibility criteria, we're going to give you the opportunity to notify the People and Culture team so that we can review that for you. Please note that doesn't mean that you will automatically be eligible. It simply means that we will review our assessment based on our records and the information you provide. The better the information you provide as to why you think that you are eligible, the easier it will make for us. As you can imagine, we've already received hundreds of emails from people who believe they are eligible. So please give us as much information and as clearly as possible to make this process easier for you and the human resource team. Again, please make sure that you contact the HR team on humanresources.vic@ymca.org.au as soon as possible with your inquiry, again by no later than 4 p.m. on Monday. Please don't contact your line manager about this. Martina and her team will be working well and truly over the weekend to work through all of these inquiries. I'm now going to hand over to Martina and she's going to take you through a little bit more information and then we're going to do a Q&A. Thanks, Martina.
Thank you, Carolyn. First of all, thanks to everyone who has already sent through their inquiries through to the HR inbox. That's been fantastic. And it's on that basis, I'm just going to provide a quick update on some of the questions we've got, and it might provide a bit of clarity. I can see that we've got a number of questions racking up right now, so this might answer a few of those and then we can go through them. I just want to once again reiterate the criteria and how we've applied it to the eligibility or ineligibility of our staff. So the criteria hasn't been determined by YMCA Vic. This is the government's criteria, and we have been asked as part of the process to validate nominations and to make all of this, go through all of the processes of eligibility and work with our staff. So if you were a permanent employee as of the 1st of March 2020, in addition to that, if you're a casual employee and you have been working with us for a period of 12 months. So for a casual employee, you must have been working for us for 12 months as at the 1st of March 2020, which means you must have started with us as at the 1st of March 2019. We have had a number of people who have just heard the March 2020, but for casuals, you must have been working for that 12 months prior. In addition to that, for casual employees, the legislation states that it must be for a casual, regular and systematic work. What we've used as a guideline for that is the Fair Work Act's guidance on what is regular and systematic work. Basically what that means is that you must have been rostered on a regular basis, and that there has been long periods of time when you are expected to and have been rostered on for work. What we have used is, as a guidance for that, is term times. So for example, if you have worked all term, but you haven't worked over the school holiday periods, because a lot of our programs weren't running over the school holiday periods, we've taken that into account, and that doesn't impact on your ability to be eligible for the program. However, if you are a seasonal employee and you work every Christmas, for example, that is not covered under regular and systematic work. We've used a bit of a general guideline and applied all of the other criteria, and also looked at the fact that if you take out the school holidays and then some additional time for people's need to take personal leave, that if you work 19 out of the 27 fortnights per year, we have deemed that that is a criteria by which you would be eligible and is a good guideline for regular and systematic work. In addition, the other things that Carolyn has raised previously, you must be over 16 years of age, you must be an Australian citizen or hold the relevant visa applications as per the process, and you must nominate the YMCA as your primary employer. Now, I know that already we have had a number of people that have contacted about this. Please be aware that if you have received a notification that you are ineligible because the YMCA is not your primary employer and you want us to be your primary employer, the process is very simple. Just follow the steps and send us an email to the HR inbox. We'll review your information, and if you are eligible, we will send you the link to the form for you to fill out. That's all you need to do. You don't need to contact payroll. You don't need to contact your area manager. You don't need to fill out any change to tax forms, none of those sorts of things at all. All you need to do is mail the HR inbox and we'll get back to you. The HR team are going to be working on the weekend, so we'll be reviewing the inbox systematically all over the weekend, so we will be responding to people. Please follow the procedure because it is the main way that we can help you. So I think on that basis, Carolyn will now open up for general questions.
Okay, great. Thanks, Martina. I think you probably answered quite a few of the questions, but perhaps even if we put it a different way, you can answer things again. Yep. I've been advised today I'm eligible for JobKeeper as the Y is not my primary employee, despite the fact that it is. The Y mentioned my tax declaration. That was 8 years ago. Could you advise how we nominate the Y as primary employer?
Yes, very simply, as I said, just email us back and say, yes, that is the case. There are so many reasons why that there might have been that data in our system. It's just a really simple process. Just email us back, we'll have a look at it and we'll send you the nominated form.
Okay. According to JobKeeper legislation, the business doesn't determine eligibility of employees, the employee declares eligibility themselves. Why is the Y acting contrary to this by incorrectly deeming employees ineligible?
Okay, again, on that basis, there are a number of steps in the process. Yes, an employee must nominate, but we also have to report to the ATO on that nomination. So you need to nominate that you want to be eligible for JobKeeper. That's great. But at the same time, we need to make sure that you meet all the eligibility criteria that we've outlined a couple of times already. So when we've sent you out that email, what we have done is looked at the eligibility criteria, looked at your history of employment within the payroll system, and sent the letter accordingly. If that's incorrect in any way, all you need to do, once again, is send us the email and we'll get back to you over the weekend.
Okay, so when can the employees expect to hear back from Human Resources?
Over the weekend. Look, and there may be, depending on the number of queries we get, we can't say that we're going to get to them all over the weekend, but we have set a deadline of 4 p.m. on Monday to everyone to have got back to us with the form. We are really encouraging for you to do it sooner rather than later. But we, all of the questions and contact that comes through is logged on a help desk. So we will have that and you will get a notification when we've opened the email, and then we will respond to you.
Okay. Hello, I'm wondering why the date is from the 1st of March 2020.
And that's just because that was the date the government deemed the system was to start.
Look, I suspect that's also the date that, you know, there's been significant impact to businesses. And so that's why they selected that date in regard to the impact of COVID-19. What does systematic or regular mean for casual employees?
And again, just to reiterate that, we're using working regularly during term time, which means that you would have worked regularly over the course of at least 19 of the 27 fortnights of being paid per annum. And then in addition to that, it is being rostered on a regular basis. If anyone wants to talk to us further about that, they can send the email through, but they're not criteria that the YMCA have put onto this. This is what the Fair Work Act has said that we should do.
Yeah. Look, I think so many people, it seems, and I'm just reading Florence on, who's saying, look, I've worked for the YMCA for 20 years. I didn't tick that my tax declaration. I think there's a lot of people in this boat, Martina, is that right? And can you just give them some more assurance?
Yes. If we have used, we've used that not ticking the box on the tax declaration as a way to send you out a letter. That's all we've done at this point in time. So if you would like to nominate the YMCA as your primary employer, all you need to do is send us back the email stating that, and we'll send you the form. You don't need to change your tax status. You don't need to fill out any other additional forms, just the nomination form for the YMCA. But we did have to work with our payroll data to send out, and also, just as you've got the responsibilities to nominate as an employee, we also have responsibilities to the government to make sure that we are correctly monitoring this in our reporting back to the ATO. So please be assured, if the only thing that you think is stopping you from being eligible is that you haven't ticked the right box on a tax form, that's not going to stop you from getting JobKeeper. You just need to let us know, but please let us know through this process, because this is the way we can deal with it really quickly and really effectively and get the proper form out to you.
Yeah. So basically what it is if you haven't ticked that, that box, it kind of means that you, we have determined that that's just an indication that you might have other jobs that you're earning more income from, etc. It doesn't mean that we're going to exclude you. As Martina has been describing, we want you to contact HR, explain that we are your primary employer, and we will send out a form so that you can be eligible. So I know it's frustrating that it's a two-step process, but please bear with us. We still have plenty of time before our next payroll run, so you won't miss out. We just need communication from you. Great. So if we've been notified we are ineligible and are arguing that we are eligible, how long will it take to respond?
As I've said, we're going to respond as soon as we possibly can, and the team will be working over the weekend, and you will get notification as soon as we have opened your query and that we are looking at it.
Okay. So just to clarify, I am eligible for JobKeeper payments. Oh, am I eligible for JobKeeper payments if I'm still working a second job that I have since before this outbreak? So only claiming from one entity, but still working another job.
Yeah, look, all that needs to happen is with, if you are eligible, you're only eligible through one employer. That doesn't mean you can only work for one employer. You may have more than one job. That's fine. All you need to do is nominate yourself for one employer, and you need to meet the eligibility criteria. So all I would say to that is, from a personal perspective, you need to look at your circumstances, look at the two jobs that you're working in, and nominate which is the employer you're going to be eligible for.
Okay, this one's a good one. So are you saying that the YMCA Victoria are receiving the JobKeeper subsidy? Do you want me to answer that, or do you want to?
You can give it a go. I'm more than happy for you too, Carolyn, and then I can add anything that needs to.
Okay. All right. So we have been working with an advisor, a specialist advisor in KPMG. We believe that at this stage, the ATO have asked us to determine our own eligibility. And what we have established is that we can easily do that for the majority of our entities. And so we do believe that we will be receiving JobKeeper subsidy for all of those. For the one entity, which is our youth entity and our disability entity, we are putting a claim in, and that will go in early next week to the Commissioner. And in the words of KPMG, he doesn't see any reason, our advisor, why that shouldn't go through. It was simply a case that we restructured our organisation in July last year. And what we are seeing is that there has been the appropriate decline in our turnover to make us eligible. We think we are very confident that we're going to get the answer, and we will make every endeavour to make sure that that is before the payroll run. If it indeed is after the payroll run, I know that the Commissioner has some very broad opportunity to ensure that everybody will get payment. The government, let's be really clear here, the government wants to make these payments. They're not going to withhold unreasonably. There is a lot of organisations in this state. I think we're in a really good position in that we've worked this out very early in the piece, and our submission will go in very, very early, as soon as it is allowed to go in to the ATO. So anything else you wanted to add there, Martina?
No, I think, look, we're working as quickly as we can, and we'll provide you as much information as we possibly can. So we think we're eligible, and we're just finalising out the details and working for the area where we're not to get an exemption.
Okay, so I'm a permanent resident. I have worked a permanent casual staff for Kingswim for over 4 years. I've been declined as a YMCA as not my primary employer. You are my only employer, and I've sent my 2019 tax return as proof. Will that be enough proof?
Hopefully so. It says that you're a permanent casual staff. So if you nominate the YMCA as your primary employer, that's fantastic. We just would need to go through the other eligibility criteria and make sure you meet those. But if you have sent that through to us and nominate yourself as a primary, nominate that the YMCA is your primary employer, and you meet the other criteria, we will send you through the other form.
Okay. Thanks, Martina. What happens if I'm not working as I have chosen to, oh my gosh, the system isn't going wild.
I can keep going if you.
What happens if I'm not working as I've been chosen to self-isolate? Can I get JobKeeper still?
Okay, this is an interesting one, because JobKeeper is there from the government's perspective for two reasons. One, to provide people with an economic benefit to assist them and the community, but it's also about keeping our employees in touch and helping our organisations to keep going during this really difficult time. So if you want to receive JobKeeper, you do need to make yourself available to work. So that's really important, and people need to understand that. So you can't get JobKeeper and say, but I'm not available to work. We're not going to not allow people to make that choice to self-isolate, but it will mean that you'll have to apply for other government assistance, not the JobKeeper. So if you're in those circumstances, we would be saying to you, well, you'll need to go for other assistance, and that would be JobSeeker.
Okay. So some of my team, there's a lot of tax form ones. Okay, so we're just going to answer a couple more of those, and then I am going to stop asking these questions. But if we ask them in lots of different ways, I think it will work. Some of my team have had outdated tax deck forms, which has meant they're initially ineligible for JobKeeper from the Y. Is this an easy fix?
Yes, you don't need to fill out a new tax form. All you need to do is send that exactly what you wrote there. If you put that in the HR inbox, we'd come back to you and say, great, if you meet the other criteria, which we just go through and tick some little boxes, and that's the only reason why you were not eligible, then we'd send you the form through, fill it out, send it back.
Perfect. And the next one asks, do I need to complete a new tax deck form and have it processed?
No. All you need to do is respond to the HR inbox.
Okay. Next one. I usually work 2 days per week. Do I have to work more hours to make it up to 1,500?
Okay. There's a few bits to that. Generally speaking, no, everyone is entitled to the $1,500 payment. However, you do need to make yourself willing and available to work to get the $1,500 payment. So it may be that the organisation asks you, there's been some changes to Fair Work as well, so that we can all work together and reasonably ask staff to do whatever needs to be done, as long as it's within their it's in their general qualifications and area where they generally work. But also it may be an opportunity for us to ask staff to do various training and qualification development as well. So what I can say on that one, it really does depend on the person's personal circumstances and where they work in our business, but you will get the $1,500.
Okay, will existing employees be allowed to make the YMCA their primary employer to be able to claim JobKeeper if their previous job was subcontracting?
Okay, that's one that's probably got a whole lot of nuances about the person's personal situation, but I will say that if you meet the other eligibility criteria and you've been working from the Y since the 1st of March 2020, and either you're a permanent, so you're eligible, or you're a casual and you've met the other criteria, then it wouldn't matter if you've been subcontracting in the past.
Okay, this one's an interesting one. The deadline is the 20th internally and the 30th externally. It is frustrating that that's the case, but anyway, what about the staff in the entity that it is still unclear about JobKeeper eligibility?
Yep, look, it is interesting that the government has put the 30th as the time you have to get the form back, but it's also said that employers have to pay you by that date. So if you don't get the form back to us until the 30th, and then we have to process the information, we won't have enough time to pay you. And we must pay you for you to be eligible for JobKeeper. So that's why we've set the deadline of the 20th to make that happen. In terms of the eligibility generally, what we are doing is working towards the end of April. So if we waited until the entity where there's still some clarity that needs to be provided from the Commissioner, people may miss the deadline as a result of that. And that's what we don't want to happen. So if you are eligible, or if you want a query answered, or if you need to fill in the form, we're asking people to do it now so that all being well, everyone will get their payments by the end of April.
So I've had several staff who've received an email saying they're not eligible as YMCA is not their primary workplace. This is untrue. They don't work anywhere else. One is a facility manager.
We have had a number of people already say to us, oh, when I first started, 8 years ago, I was also working for 2 or 3 other places and I haven't done that for a few years now. Yeah, look, If that's not correct, that's fine. It all, as I've said earlier, it's just a case of updating the records accordingly. It's not going to stop you from being eligible as long as you meet the other eligibility criteria for JobKeeper. So I think it's just a case of, once again, if we are your primary employer, fantastic. Just send us through that and we'll send you the form.
Okay, hi, I'm employed casually by YMCA for more than 1.5 years, and I'm also employed part-time by another employer.
Okay, so all you need to do there is determine where you would like, who you would like to nominate as your primary employer. And I would just say to you, review the eligibility criteria that's on that's listed, and say, okay, based on this, where am I going to be eligible, and nominate that employer. So you just have to pick one where you know you're going to be eligible. You just can't apply through both employers.
Okay, Martina, here's a tricky one. There have been a number of staff members that have been ineligible because of lack of information. Can you clarify what this means?
Yes, it meant we had lack of information. Seriously, as that. All it meant was we couldn't make a determination one way or the other. And as we've said, we have to report back to the ATO on why someone is eligible or what, because you see, you're nominating, but then we have to claim the money back from the government, and they need to understand that we're doing the right thing. So if we've said that we don't have enough information, just come back to us and say, can someone please contact me, and we'll work through your individual circumstances.
Okay, so will all staff receive an email whether eligible or not, especially in the youth and disability sector?
Yes. And again, as Carolyn said earlier, if you don't seem to have got your email, please check your spam or your junk emails first. We have sent them to the latest and best email address that we have. But again, if you don't receive one, please just send it to us, and we'll put the email address back up again at the end, but just send it through to us and we'll check your details.
Okay. If we've received pay from the 1st of March till, say, the end of March, do we just get JobSeeker from the date of stand down?
Okay, I can't see that email. Okay.
Again, if we've received pay from the 1st of March till, say, the end of March, do we just get JobKeeper from the date of stand down?
Okay.
I think I can answer that because it only starts at the 30th of March.
Right, yes.
As the first part of that question. If you've worked past that date, Martina, what's the answer?
Okay, so everyone who is eligible from the 30th of March. So whether you're on stand down or whether you're on part employment or you're on full employment, you are entitled to the $1,500 JobKeeper. So if you are on full stand down, then you would get the $1,500. If you are working partial hours and you're working less than the $1,500, you'll get the top up to the $1,500. If you are working full time, and that means that you're getting more than $1,500 a fortnight, you don't get the $1,500 on top of your standard salary, you just maintain what you were currently getting. So clicks in from the 30th of March, we will review it and pay you accordingly if you meet the eligibility criteria and if we are eligible.
Okay, so this one says, has the human resource email address been unblocked for staff who have been stood down and had their outgoing emails blocked?
Okay, we did have a little glitch the other day and there was some issue with some emails being blocked. That should have been rectified. It was logged as an issue through IT, and my understanding is that that's all been fixed. So if you had any issue there, it shouldn't be an issue anymore.
Yeah. So just to clarify, we have stopped out emails. We've got emails coming internally on YMCA addresses. We have to protect ourselves at the moment, particularly at the moment. There's a lot of cyber security issues, and we took that step as a precaution to ensure that we really protect our system during this time. It's similar to our head office and all our facilities. We have actually locked them down at this time. We really have to work on our security. And it's unfortunate that, people are taking advantage of us in this time, but we have to protect ourselves. And so, yes, there was a glitch in terms of all YMCA emails should be able to go between each other. However, we have put a block on external emails for the short term just during this closure period. So should we put our claims in now? And if so, how do we do that online? I think we've answered that.
Yes, fill in the form.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, I'm going to answer this one live. I've been identified as ineligible because YMCA is not nominated as my primary employer tax declaration. If I change this and nominate the YMCA as my primary employer on the ATO website by Monday, will I be able to be eligible for JobKeeper payment?
Yes, it won't matter if you do or do not fill out the ATO tax form. That's not what will make you eligible for JobKeeper. All you need to do is fill in the ATO nomination form, which is the one that we've sent you. So if, as I said again, you've come through as ineligible and you let us know that you want to nominate us as your primary employer, we will send you the form that you need to fill out. If you go through the ATO, just to clarify for people, if you go through the ATO process of changing your tax declaration, that will get caught up in the queue and all of those sorts of things, and you may not actually make the deadlines that you need to make for JobKeeper. That's why we're saying you don't need to worry about that right now. It's just about the nomination form.
Okay, great. Am I eligible if I'm on work cover?
That one is, it's going to depend on the individual situation. So I can't really go into details on that one.
Okay, great. So what I would suggest is if that's your scenario, and there will be a lot of individual scenarios, then can you please email HR and they will get back to you as soon as possible, including over the weekend.
Yes.
I'm not sure going to be able to answer this one either because it's a job seeker question. If we receive student allowance payment, will they affect eligibility for job seeker? Can we assume?
It does actually. I can answer that because they're all interdependent. So if you're going for job seeker and you're already receiving other payments, they will either say to you you're not eligible or take you off one payment and put you onto another. So, and that would also be the same with JobKeeper. If you are on another form of benefit, you may not be eligible.
Okay. What would happen if that was JobKeeper?
Yeah, if it's JobKeeper, the same process. You can basically, you can't double dip, so you get one form of benefit.
Yeah, I think that's a really important item, isn't it? Because this is really about, and I said it last time, this is about your honesty in all of this. You are going to be responsible for whether you receive JobKeeper or not. Particularly if you're not working at the moment. If you're working, then you need to, you're eligible and you need to tick yes. But if at the moment you're not working and let's say you've got another job, you need to make that determination and that's at your discretion. So this is entirely in your hands and you may even need to seek external advice around that. We don't provide that sort of advice, unfortunately. We're not qualified to do that. So you might have to seek some external advice. I was not eligible for JobKeeper. Is this because I signed the new LOA after the 1st of March?
It may be or it may not be the reason. If you're signing, if this is your first LOA with the YMCA, then yes, that would be the reason. If you've signed a new LOA but you were had previous employment with us, we would take that into account. So it would depend on the period of your last LOA and various other bits and pieces. It should actually say on your letter the reason why you were ineligible. So if you've read that and you've seen the reason that you were ineligible and you've still got some questions, just send them through to the HR inbox.
Okay. Look, I think we've probably got time for a couple more questions. So, hi Martina, would you possibly be able to let those of us in youth services know if we can get a new date to submit our forms by if our entity eventually becomes eligible?
Yes, the answer to that is we're doing all of this back work now. So if you nominate as, so when we've sent out to that entity, we haven't made the determination that you're ineligible because we're still working on the commissioner process. That's not what has determined your eligibility or non-eligibility. What we've gone through is the standard job seeker eligibility list. So if you're in YCS and you've got a letter saying you're ineligible, it will be based on not the employer eligibility, but all of the standard criteria. So again, if you want, it'll have on your letter the reason why you weren't eligible. And if you have a concern or question about that, you can let us know. For those staff that we have deemed eligible, you will have been sent the notification to fill out the form. You're only going to have to fill out that form once. We will then keep that form, lodge that form, and then as soon as we find out about the eligibility, we can make that form come into effect. So you're not going to have to do the process twice.
Okay. This one said, I thought I'm assuming it is JobKeeper, was only valid for 3 months, 9K total per person.
No, it goes until
It's actually, so it's 1,500 times possible 13 payments. The government has said that they will do this for 13 periods or up to 13 periods. So we don't know what up to means just yet. I think it probably means that they're leaving, it will only be a maximum of 13, but they might end this earlier depending on whether we open up our restrictions, etc. So, but we don't know that, and we're not in control of that, obviously. Okay, okay, this is an annual leave one, and I think this is probably a good one for us to end on. So we've been paid annual leave from the 30th of March when JobKeeper started. Do we get that annual leave back, or do we get back pay of the JobKeeper and lose the annual leave?
This is a really interesting one because the government haven't made a determination on this one yet. What we want to do is work with our employees on this one. So if you're in that situation, the very first thing we want to do is just over this weekend is figure out the eligibility for JobKeeper. So if you've got the letter that says you're eligible, please just fill out the form this week so that we can get all of that sorted out. And then next week, if you would like to send through a query on, this is what's happening for me personally with my annual leave, and then we can work on that. Hopefully next week we'll have a determination on that as well, and at the weekly webinar we'll be able to give some people some information. And also we do update the frequently asked questions on the website as soon as we get information available to us. So again, as always, I say to people, check that out fairly regularly because we do update it a lot.
Okay. I am just going to sneak one more question in because I think this is important. And I'm going to begin with a bit of an answer first. The JobKeeper payment, you get the full 1,500, but PAYG tax is taken out of it. So when you receive your payment, it will not be necessarily the full 1,500 because we have to take your pay-as-you-go tax out of it. It is taxable. So this says, how does it work? Do I get the full 1,500 payment?
Yes, and as Carolyn has said, you may or you may not, and that really does depend on the hours that you're working. And again, you may, for example, come back to us and say, I meet all the criteria, the YMCA is my primary employer, but I still want you to apply the second job tax status. So then we will have to tax it accordingly. So again, it is based on people's personal circumstances. And the very first thing we need to do is determine that eligibility.
Okay. Thank you, Martina. Look, I think you've just been amazing answering all these questions. And look, the team is going to work tirelessly throughout the weekend to answer more of your questions. If you are if you have received the information about the fact that you are eligible, please get that back to us as soon as possible. If you need to review this, the methodology that you need to go through, we've gone through the step 1 through to step 10 for you to do that on this video, and it will be available again for you or anybody else that wants to see it. As soon as possible after our IT department edit it a little bit. You will get that email today. That the people who are eligible have not yet received all of these emails, just so you're clear. So that doesn't mean that you're ineligible. Every single person should receive an email from us. If you don't receive that, please, after 6 p.m. today, check your junk mail first, but email Martina and her team on the address that we have provided. Look, I do know this is a really challenging time, and I do understand and encourage you to access our free counselling service with the YMCA Employee Assistance Program, LifeWorks. The number is 1300 361 008. I'm going to say it again because we really do encourage you to use this service. It's absolutely amazing. 1300 361 008. That the LifeWorks can help you with your situation, including your financial situation. So please take advantage of that. And once again, I'd like to thank you for your patience during JobKeeper process. We have very quickly become the experts in this as best we possibly can, remembering that we've only had less than 10 days, Martina, to become experts in this, to get you out an email, to work through the eligibility criteria. We have worked so hard to make this happen for every single one of you. So, but I know that you're still going to have questions on your individual circumstances, and I encourage you to please email Human Resources with your inquiry today. So anyway, thank you very much. And thank you, Martina. You've just been brilliant. Cheers.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.